Can you still retire comfortably in Thailand on 50,000 baht a month in 2026? Honestly, that question has become a lot harder to answer because a few years ago I probably would have said yes almost immediately. Move to Thailand, rent a nice place, eat well, enjoy the weather, live a simpler life and still have money left at the end of the month. But quietly things have changed, not in some dramatic way, not some panic on YouTube kind of way, just slowly over time. Rent has crept up in a lot of popular expat areas. Electricity catches people off guard now. Healthcare has become a much bigger factor for retirees. And a lot of people arriving planning to live cheaply, then slowly build a lifestyle that costs far more than they expected. So now you hear completely different stories from different people. One retiree says 50,000 baht is more than enough. Another says they're struggling. Someone else says they live comfortably on 35,000 baht. And another person says they wouldn't even attempt Thailand on less than 80,000. So who's right? Honestly, all of them. Because the answer usually has less to do with Thailand itself and more to do with the lifestyle people build once they get here. And after living here and talking to a lot of retirees over the years, I think one decision matters more than almost anything else: condo or villa. Because this is where I see retirement budgets quietly start breaking down. The villa looks affordable at first. The rent doesn't seem that bad. But then comes the electricity bills, the transport, the pool maintenance, the isolation, the daily spending that creeps in without people really noticing it. And suddenly that peaceful low-cost retirement starts feeling surprisingly tight. But at the same time, I also know retirees living very comfortably in Thailand on this exact budget. So in this video, I want to look at the real 2026 reality, not the fantasy version, not the Thailand is unbelievably cheap version, just the honest day-to-day reality of what life here actually costs now, and who this budget still works well for. Because yes, I do think 50,000 baht can still work in Thailand, but whether it feels peaceful or stressful depends massively on the choices you make. Thailand is still genuinely one of the most affordable places in the world to retire. I don't think that has changed. If you compare daily life here to somewhere like the UK, Australia, Canada or the US, the difference is still huge. Rent is lower, healthcare is usually cheaper, eating out is affordable, transport is affordable, and for a lot of retirees, the overall quality of life still feels significantly better than what they could comfortably afford back home. But there's a difference between Thailand is affordable and Thailand is unbelievably cheap. Because those are not the same thing anymore. The version of Thailand a lot of people still imagine before they move here, the ultra cheap version from old YouTube videos and forum posts, mostly doesn't exist in the places where most retirees actually want to live now. Especially in popular expat areas, Chiang Mai, Hua Hin, Phuket, parts of Bangkok. Prices haven't exploded, but they've definitely shifted over the years. And I think what catches some people off guard is that the increases don't usually come from one huge expense. It's lots of smaller changes happening at the same time. Rent a little higher, electricity a little higher, imported food more expensive. None of these things sound dramatic individually, but together they slowly reshape the monthly budget. And honestly, I think this is where a lot of retirement planning becomes slightly unrealistic. Because when people first plan to move to Thailand, they usually imagine themselves living very simply, eating local food every day, living minimally, walking everywhere, avoiding unnecessary spending. And that's completely normal. The problem is that comfort costs money. Not luxury, just comfort. And there's a huge difference between the budget someone imagines before moving to Thailand and the budget they naturally drift towards once they're actually living here full time. I've seen people arrive expecting to spend 35,000 baht a month, then quietly settle into a 55,000 baht lifestyle without ever feeling particularly extravagant. The electricity bill alone surprises a lot of retirees, especially now, and air conditioning stops feeling optional very quickly once you've lived here long enough. In a smaller condo, it's manageable. In a larger villa with multiple AC units running, outdoor lighting, and maybe a pool pump running all day, the numbers start changing fast. And this is why I think housing becomes the central financial decision for most retirees here. Because your housing choice quietly affects almost everything else. Your transport, your electricity, your social life, your daily routine, even your mental health over time. Which is why the condo versus villa decision matters far more than most people realise at the beginning. Let's start with condos, because honestly, I think condos deserve far more credit than they usually get in retirement conversations. A lot of people arrive in Thailand dreaming about the villa lifestyle: private pool, garden, quiet street, space, freedom. And compared to that, the condo can feel slightly underwhelming at first, more practical than exciting. But once people have actually lived in Thailand for a few years, something interesting often happens. They start prioritizing convenience over fantasy, because convenience quietly improves everyday life in ways people underestimate. In a well-located condo, life becomes very easy. You can walk to the coffee shops, walk to the restaurants, walk to the market, grab a bolt almost instantly if you need to go out further. You're connected to daily life without really thinking about it. And that matters more over time than many retirees expect, especially as you get older. The maintenance side matters too. The pool is already there. Someone else maintains it. The gym is already there. Someone else cleans it. If something breaks, management usually handles it quickly. Financially, condos also tend to behave much better long term. Electricity is lower because you're cooling a smaller place. You're not maintaining outdoor areas. You don't suddenly discover the roof needs work. You don't need gardeners or pool cleaners. And there's another thing people rarely talk about enough: low-level human contact. You see people in elevators, around the pool, in the lobbies, at nearby cafes. You stay naturally connected to life without making any huge effort. And for solo retirees especially, that's more important than it might sound. A condo may not feel luxurious in the beginning, but financially, emotionally, and practically, it's often the setup that ages the best. Now let's talk about the villa. Because honestly, this is where I think a lot of retirement budgets quietly get into trouble. And I completely understand why people want this lifestyle. The villa dream is powerful. Morning coffees outside, a private pool, more space, no neighbours above you, quiet evenings, tropical surroundings. After decades of working and living in smaller Western homes or apartments, it feels like freedom. And sometimes it genuinely is. There are retirees living in beautiful villas around Hua Hin or Chiang Mai who absolutely love their lives. But here's where things start changing financially. Most people calculate the rent. They don't calculate the lifestyle around the rent. And that's where the numbers start drifting. The pool needs cleaning. The garden needs maintaining. Electricity jumps drastically because you're cooling much larger spaces. Pool pumps run constantly. Outdoor lighting, water systems, repairs, humidity damage, insects, Small maintenance problems that keep appearing because tropical climates are harder on the houses. None of these expenses individually feel catastrophic, but together they slowly transform the budget. And then transport enters the picture, because villas are usually outside of town. That's part of the attraction. More peace, more space, more privacy. But distance creates costs. Suddenly every coffee requires transport. Every grocery trip requires transport. Every meal out becomes more of an event instead of something spontaneous. Some retirees end up buying a car because they feel too isolated without one. Others simply stay home more than they expected. And this is where I've seen something interesting happen over time. The villa that originally felt peaceful slowly starts feeling disconnected, especially for solo retirees. Not immediately, usually after the honeymoon period has worn off. The first few months can feel amazing, quiet, relaxing, private, but eventually some people realize they've accidentally built a lifestyle where getting anywhere requires effort. This is why I think some retirees underestimate the true cost of villa living. The cost isn't just financial, it's behavioral. Your environment slowly changes your habits, and those habits eventually change your budget. So what does 50,000 baht actually look like once you stop talking theoretically and start mapping out real life? Because this is where the difference between a comfortable retirement and a stressful one usually becomes obvious very quickly. Let's start with housing. Because honestly, housing is the decision that controls almost everything else. In somewhere like Chiang Mai or Hua Hin, a decent modern condo in a good location might cost somewhere around 10,000 to 15,000 baht a month. Maybe slightly more if you want something newer or in a premium area. But what you're really buying isn't just the condo itself. You're buying the convenience, walkability, simplicity, lower transport costs, lower electricity, easier routines, and less financial unpredictability. A villa changes the numbers immediately, even if your rent itself initially looks manageable, because now the supporting costs start appearing around the property. Electricity climbs, pool maintenance, garden care, transport, repairs, more delivery spending because you're further away from daily life. And this is why I keep coming back to the condo versus villa discussion throughout the video. Because the villa rarely stretches just one part of the budget. It stretches everything around it too. Electricity is probably the expense newer retirees underestimate most, especially people arriving from cooler countries. Thailand changes your relationship with air conditioning very quickly. During hot seasons especially, sleeping without aircon becomes difficult for a lot of people. In a condo, manageable, usually somewhere around 1,500 to 2,500 baht a month, depending on your usage. In a villa, completely different situation. Multiple AC units, larger rooms, pool system, outdoor lighting, older insulation in some houses. Suddenly the electricity bill isn't a minor detail anymore. It becomes a meaningful part of the monthly budget. Food is where Thailand can really still feel incredibly affordable or surprisingly expensive. And honestly, both versions are real. If you eat local food regularly, shop at markets, cook simple meals at home, and stay reasonably flexible, food costs remain very manageable here. Thailand still delivers enormous value in that area. But this is another place where lifestyle drift quietly happens. Because most long-term retirees don't actually live like backpackers forever. You start wanting certain comforts again: better coffee, imported groceries, Western breakfasts, wine occasionally, delivery apps because it's raining or it's too hot outside. None of this is excessive, it's just normal life. But normal Western style habits in Thailand cost significantly more than local Thai habits, which means food budgets can vary massively between retirees, even if they technically earn the same amount. One person spends 6,000 baht a month comfortably, another spends 18,000 baht without even trying to live extravagantly. Transport is another category where location quietly decides everything. If you're in a walkable condo setup, Bolt and Grab can work extremely well. You don't think about transport very much. Life flows naturally. But if you're outside town in a villa, transport becomes part of almost every decision you make. And this is where many retirees eventually buy a car or motorbike, even if they originally planned not to, which then creates another layer of ongoing costs: fuel, insurance, maintenance, repairs, registration, parking. And suddenly the cheap villa outside town starts developing a surprisingly expensive ecosystem around it. But the biggest variable in all of this by far is healthcare, because this is a category that can completely change retirement maths overnight. Thailand private hospitals are genuinely excellent. Some are world class, but good healthcare is not free. And I think a lot of retirees psychologically delay thinking seriously about this part because it's uncomfortable, especially when you're healthy. But retirement planning only really works if the difficult categories are included honestly. Insurance costs rise with age. Pre-existing conditions complicate things. Some people end up partially self-insuring because premiums become too high later in life. And this is why I think healthcare deserves more attention than almost any other retirement expense. You can survive here without a private pool. You can survive here without imported groceries. But healthcare is one area where hoping for the best is not a particularly good financial strategy. So when you put all this together, housing, electricity, food, transport, insurance, and just the small everyday costs of existing somewhere long term, 50,000 baht absolutely can work. But it works best when the lifestyle is designed intentionally, because there isn't a huge amount of room for continuous, unconscious overspending. So, is 50,000 baht enough to retire comfortably in Thailand in 2026? Yes, I generally think it still can be. Thailand remains one of the best value retirement destinations in the world for many people. The climate, the food, the healthcare quality, the slower pace of life, the affordability compared to most Western countries. Those advantages are still very real. But I also think the conversation around Thailand retirement has matured now. This isn't really about finding the absolute cheapest possible lifestyle anymore. It's about building a sustainable one. And that's a very different mindset, because 50,000 baht works best when expectations stay realistic, not pessimistic, realistic. The retirees who usually struggle aren't necessarily the ones with the smallest budgets. They're often the ones trying to recreate a version of luxury that quietly stretches everything too far. Bigger house, more isolation, more convenient spending, more hidden costs, more financial pressure over time. So I think that's why the condo versus villa decision matters so much. It's not just about rent, it's about the entire lifestyle that grows around the property you choose. The people I've seen do best long term in Thailand usually have a few things in common. Their housing is sensible, their routines are stable, they understand their numbers clearly, they stay connected to daily life, and they stop chasing the fantasy version of retirement they originally imagined before moving here. Instead, they build something simpler, but much more sustainable. And interestingly, those are often the people who end up the happiest here. Not because they lowered their standards, but because they figured out what actually improves daily life and what just creates more maintenance, expense, and stress. Thailand can still absolutely provide a calmer, easier, and more affordable life than many people can achieve back home. But in 2026, I think the people doing the best financially here are usually the people who live intentionally rather than emotionally. They choose comfort over appearance, simplicity over fantasy, sustainability over excess. And when you get that balance right, 50,000 baht can still provide a genuinely good life here. Not a perfect life, but a peaceful one. And honestly, for a lot of people, that's what retirement was supposed to be in the first place. So now I'm curious about your perspective. If you were retiring to Thailand in 2026, could you personally live comfortably on 50,000 baht a month? And what would you choose? Condo life or villa life? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed today's video, just do me a massive favor and press the subscribe button. Really helps the channel and push to other people like yourselves who want to retire over here in Thailand. Thanks for listening. We'll see you on the next one, guys.